Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to use the quadratic formula. And the quadratic formula is this big formula here, and you use it obviously to solve quadratic. So you need to remember this rule, and the rule is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Now before you use this rule, what you need to do is make sure that when you write your quadratic that it's in this form, where you got some number x squared plus some number x plus your constant at the end, and it has to equal 0. Now once it's in this form, you get your values of a, b and c, and essentially all you have to do is substitute your values wherever they go in the quadratic formula. So if you're careful in doing that, then you're going to get the answer correct every single time. Now when you actually use this formula, there's three situations you can get. And the three situations are, the first one, for your square root part, so we call this part the discriminant. But if your discriminant, so this b squared minus 4ac, is a positive number, then what you'll find is that you're going to get two answers, or two possibilities for your x. If your discriminant, so this part here, ends up equaling 0, so you get the square root of 0, the square root of 0 is just 0, so you'll just be plussing or minusing 0, which ends up giving you the same answer. So you'll end up with just one solution. Your final way is, if this becomes a negative number, you can't find the square root of a negative number. So what you'll find is that when you put in your calculator, it's going to come up with an error, which just means that there's no solution for x. So there's no value for x that will work. So we'll do a couple of examples, and they're going to be one of each. So the first one, we got 5x squared plus 3x minus 2. First thing you do is write your rule. So it's going to be x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. And then what I normally do is I write out my values for my a, b and c. So my a value is 5, my b value is 3, and my c is negative 2. So be careful of your negative numbers. So then what I do is I substitute my three values in to wherever they go. So I'm going to get x equals negative, and be careful when you use your calculator that when you sub it in, that you put brackets around it. So negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 2 divided by 2 times 5. Now when it gets to this stage, don't be embarrassed to use your calculator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw on the calculator this part of the square root just to clean it up a little bit. So it's 3 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 2. I forgot my bracket. So that gives me the square root of 49. So it's negative 3 plus or minus square root of 49 divided by 10. Now I can clean this up a little bit more. Square root of 49 is 7, so it's x equals negative 3 plus or minus 7 divided by 10. Now what I do now is I separate this into two things, because you've got two parts of the equation. You've got negative 3, or two possibilities, negative 3 plus 7 divided by 10, or it's negative 3 minus 7 divided by 10. So it could be x equals negative 3 plus 7 divided by 10, or x equals negative 3 minus 7 divided by 10. So negative 3 plus 7 is 4 over 10, which is equal to 2/5, or x is equal to negative 10 divided by 10, which equals negative 1. So my two answers are x equals 2/5 and x equals negative 1. Do another example. And again, it's the same process every single time. You've just got to be careful when you sub in your numbers. So I write out my formula first. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. My a value is 1, so it's just a 1 in front of x squared. My b value is equal to 6. My c is equal to 9. So I throw my numbers in. So it's going to be x equals negative 6 brackets plus or minus square root 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 9 divided by 2 times 1. So I get negative 6 plus or minus the square root, and what I'm going to do is throw this into my calculator. So 6 squared is 36 minus 4 times 1 times 9 is 0, so it's the square root of 0 divided by 2. Now the square root of 0 is just 0, so all I'm going to be left with is negative 6 plus or minus 0, which is just going to leave with negative 6. So I'm only going to have one answer. It's going to be negative 6 divided by 2, so x is going to equal negative 3. So there's only one solution for this particular one. Just do one more example. So we've got some negatives at the front and the back. It all equals 0, so I'm okay to go ahead. First of all, write out my rule. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. A value is negative 2, b is equal to 3, c equals negative 4. So I sub it all in. X equals negative 3 plus or minus square root of 3 squared minus 4 times negative 2 times negative 4 divided by 2 times negative 2. So if I clean this up a little bit, it's going to be negative 3 plus or minus the square root, and my calculator, it's 3 squared minus 4 times negative 2 times negative 4. That gives me negative 23 divided by negative 4. Now because I've got that negative under here, if you try to do the square root of negative 23, there's no real solution for that, or there's no answer to that. So what that means is that this is not going to work. So you can just write that there's no solutions for x, and you're done. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.